Okay, welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to look at the last example on compound interest, and then I will also show you how to make use of the financial calculator to calculate these examples. Okay, so we are now looking at example 10. And this example 10 is a repetition of example 6 that we did for simple interest, except that now we are going to work with compound interest. A part-time student would like to do a module in statistics. The course costs 980 rands, but the student only has 800 rands. Assuming the student invests the money at a financial institution offering an interest rate of 18% per annum compounded annually, how long before the student earns enough to enroll for the statistics course? Okay, so what we have here is we have the future value, the amount of money that she needs, the present value, the amount of money that she can invest, and then the interest rate, 18% per annum compounded annually. And we would like to find the value of n. So we have the present value, 800 rands, future value is 980, the interest rate is 18% per annum compounded annually, and we would like to know what is our n. Now if you go back to example 6, you will see that we calculated n as 15 months, that you will have to invest 800 rands for 15 months. So before we do this example, I want you to think, do you expect the time period to increase or to decrease? Do you think your n is going to be more or less if we are working with compound interest? Okay, so to do this, we are going to start again with our formula for compound interest. Okay, and what we have available is we have the future value, we have the present value, we have the interest rate, and we would like to find our n. Okay, so we are going to manipulate this formula so that we have n on its own. So we will start by dividing the future value by the present value on the left, and we also divide the right by the present value. Okay, so if we divide on the left and on the right by the present value, this will cancel out. And the next thing that we would like to do is we would like this n to be on what I call ground level. So we don't want it to be an exponent, we want it to be written on ground level. So we're going to make use of one of the rules of logs, and we know this rule, that the log of x to the n is the same as n log x. Okay, so we're going to make use of that rule, and I'm going to take the log here on the left and on the right. So I'm going to take the log on the left and the log on the right. Okay, and now you can see, making use of this rule, we can rewrite it as n log 1 plus I. Okay, and remember we would like to have n on its own. So I'm going to divide here on the right with the log of 1 plus I. And if I do it on the right, I have to do it on the left as well. So I'm just going to rewrite this. Okay, so this will cancel out and that will cancel out. So let me just rewrite it now, so that n is equal to okay, and we worked here, or I showed this with log. Remember, log has the base of 10, but you can also work with ln which has the base of e. So that would be exactly the same as working with the ln function. Okay, so we can now, on the next page, we can do the substitution and find the value for n. Okay, so we said that n is the ln or the log. You can work with any one of the two. So my n is 1.2261, and this is in terms of years. Okay, so we can multiply this by 12 to write it in terms of months. So if we multiply that by 12, it's more or less anyway 14.7 months. And again, if you go back to example 6, you will remember that your n was equal to 15 months. So the time period decreased slightly, and that is because we are now working with compound interest. So hopefully before you started this example, you expected that your time period will decrease from 15 months. Okay, so now we've looked at 4 different examples for compound interest. Remember, for our formula for compound interest, we have 4 quantities: future value, present value, the interest rate, and our n. In any example, I can give you 3 of those 4 quantities, and you have to calculate the 4th one. And you always start out with the basic formula for compound interest, and then you manipulate that basic formula so that you can find the quantity that you're looking for. Okay, so next I'm going to introduce you to the financial calculator that we will be using in this module. This financial calculator, it's the Sharp EL738, and I think there's a newer model, the EL738XT. Okay, so here I've got the financial calculator, the Sharp financial calculator. You can also use, if you don't want to use the Sharp, or if you have another financial calculator available, you can also use that, but we're going to work with the Sharp throughout. Okay, first of all, you want to set the number of decimal places on your calculator. So to do that, and you have this in your notes as well, so you can follow on your notes as well, you will click the Setup button, and then you choose 0 for DSP. Then again you choose 0 for TAB, tab. And then you choose the number of decimal digits that you want to work with. Because we are working with interest rates, don't choose a digit, I would say, of less than 4. So from 4 onwards, you can choose the number of digits from 4 onwards. I like to work with 4 digits. Okay, and then also, before you do any new calculations, you must always clear the cash flow values from previous calculations. And to do that, you will press the second function button and then CA to clear. Okay. You can follow the instructions in your notes, and I'm not going to redo all these examples. But you can see that the examples 7 to 10 that we've done by hand can be done on your financial calculator. So let's just first look at example 7. Now for example 7, we had the present value, we had the interest rate, we have n, and we would like to calculate our future value. So first of all, you will press the second function and then CA to clear all cash flow values from previous calculations. And then you type in 1000 and the button PV for present value. So you will see there's the button PV for the present value. Then you have our interest rate of 12%. So you will type 12 and then press the button interest rate per year. And then 2, and then you press N for your number of time periods. And then you will press the button compute and whatever you want to calculate, and in this case we would like to get the future value, and you will see that your future value is negative 1254.4. So your answer for the future value will be 1,254 rands and 40 cents. So just this note that if your present value was imported as a positive, then your future value will be exported as a negative. So if the present value is positive, the future value will be negative, and the other way around. You will get an error on your calculator if you give both of them the same sign. Usually we will indicate an inflow of money with a positive and an outflow of money with a negative. So in this case, the person borrowed 1,000 rands. So if you borrow money, you start out by getting money. So that's why it was a positive. And then in the end, after the 2 years, you have to repay that money and the interest. So that's money out of your pocket. That's why the answer was then in a negative. Just another note, the order in which you type this information into your calculator doesn't matter. So you could have started out with your N and then your present value, then your interest. It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just look at one other example. We can do example 9. So for example 9, we had the present value, the future value, we had our N, and we would like to calculate our interest rate per year. Okay, so again, we will start out by second function and then clear any previous cash flow values. Then we have the present value as 5,000 rands. So you type in 5,000, and to make that present value a negative, you will use this button, the positive negative button. So you will then press the plus minus button to make it a negative, and then you press the button present value. Okay, then your future value, 6,000 rands. Okay, now you can see, important here, that your present value is negative and your future value is positive. They can't have the same sign, then you will get an error. Okay, and then we also have our N, that was 0.5 N. And if you then type compute and interest rate per year, then your answer is equal to 44. Now, your calculator, or this interest rate per year, is given as a percentage. So the answer will be 44, meaning that it's 44%. Also, in the previous one, you will remember when we typed in the interest rate, we didn't type in 0.12, but we typed in a 1 to 12. So the interest rate, just remember, the calculator interprets it as a percentage. Okay, so I suggest that you go and play with your financial calculator and familiarize yourself with your calculator. We are basically going to work in this module. We are mostly going to work with this row of buttons.